All right.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, we're
Well,
doing it.
yeah, that's right. Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Post Credits Podcast. My name is Brian Schoof. That's Matt over there, chomping at the bit to talk about.
I'm so fucking excited. I'm not even that big of a Predator fan. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not un-American. Predator's great, but this is something special we have here. This is beyond my expectations. I told Brian, we momentarily, just a couple minutes ago, we usually get on, we chit chat for a little bit, talk about shit. I'm just so excited to talk about this movie. I forced him to hit that record button, and now we're here. We're here. I'm a little jittery because I'm so excited. This is what excited Matt looks like. So, yeah, where to begin?
And just roll right into it.
Yeah. You want to know what I think?
It's great.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. It is phenomenal. It is an achievement that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. A Predator movie as good as the first. Never. I mean, like, look, we can look back at history and go like, man, Alien is good. So is Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Terminator's good. And so is Terminator 2. You get to say that with Predator now.
They're different kinds of movies, though, because
they are,
like with
but
Alien,
they're still Predator movies.
No.
Oh, you talk about
like
Alien,
right?
Yeah,
because...
it's like a horror movie to haunted house to action. Yeah.
Whereas I think the only time they really tried to like switch the genres up with Predator was The Predator, and that was kind of maligned.
Yeah, I liked it. You know, this one you could say is maligned, but I would say that not really the case. I think there's brain dead people who don't know what was served to them on a fucking gold platter, and then there's the rest of them that think it's an awesome movie.
I haven't really seen anything negative. I mean, at least critically about Prey, and
no, not critically.
the couple people I've talked to really enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of times where I felt like when they called back to the original movie, I was like, okay, we don't really need this.
No, it was unnecessary.
It wasn't as bad as Predators for that, which Predators is also pretty good. Predator 2, people were really down on it at the time. And I don't know if there's a lot of love for it, but it's fine.
People forget how much lore Predator 2 added to the Predator franchise, and they don't give it the respect that it deserves because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think Predators kind of overdid it with the callbacks,
right?
And it's a commando team, and it just felt like, okay, we're doing this again. That was supposed to be like a soft reboot of the series, and I don't think it took off or took hold the way that they wanted, and blah blah blah.
Right. Well, it's just retreading the same stuff,
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to get excited about a story you've already seen before,
Mm-hmm.
Didn't feel that way with Prey, though. Didn't feel like that at all. So this, and what I mean is like this, I don't think it would be, I think that this is like such a high bar for Predator movies that I don't know if they could do it again, with the first Predator now to this one, which I mean, I'm comparing both of them. I've seen this Prey now twice, and I can't say that it's better, but I can't say that it's worse than Predator. I think it's neck and neck with it. So,
I don't think you're ever going to be able to compete with an originator in that respect, especially when the framework is so similar. And I think that's always been kind of Predator's problem in trying to find the strongest people to take down. And we've always equated that with like the military, strong people,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
or the police force in Predator 2. So going back in time was I I wasn't sure how that was going to play out.
Okay.
Just because you don't, it's like, well, the technology's there. What are they going to do with it? And I think that not only did they manage to, be regressive for the human side, but they also showed kind of like the predator evolution as well, because his stuff
Right.
wasn't as high tech.
No.
He still
No.
he had his weapons though, and they were still capable of space travel, but
Yeah, no shoulder cannon. That's absent. He's got honing bow and arrow type of thing. It's
mhm,
like a magnetized arrow bolt that's laser pointed, you know?
yeah,
Like,
but it's not an
so
actual laser blast.
right. No, I thought that that regression, as you put it, uh benefited the story. That although the predator in this one is formidable, it's not a laser blast would be, I mean, you couldn't overcome that with a axe and a bow. So
Well, Arnold did towards the end of the first
yeah,
one.
yeah, but like, I don't know. I mean, to say that, I don't know. I think that kind of diminishes Prey, saying like, it's like, oh well, he did it better in this one, and this girl didn't do
Yeah.
it well in that one. That's kind of the
Well,
underlying
that
message with that.
that's the twist though, right? Whereas like she rose to the occasion, and then in the original Predator they kind of had to strip all of that away in order to be on equal footing.
Right, right. And I mean, I think how these two characters were portrayed was pretty impressive as well.
Hmm.
Um, they're both predators. I look at this predator as, well, I mean, there's two kind of interesting things that are happening. I don't think that this is an experienced predator, and it's the premise of this movie is that this is the first time the predator has come to Earth,
Right.
you know.
Hmm.
So not quite sure like what the predator in that position wouldn't have known what to expect. Maybe they do have space laser cannons up in the mothership, but they're like, nah, we don't need it yet. Who knows? But yeah, the the weird type of tools that the predator showed off, I thought were really interesting. And then both of them, both Naru and this predator, were on a journey to prove themselves. So that
Hmm.
was a really interesting dynamic to see played out. And I think we, as audience members, based on some of the reviews or criticisms I've seen, are forgetting that, you know.
Well, I only
So
saw stupid crap like, um, how in the preview, like the predator kills the bear that was chasing her, and
yeah,
then like, oh, she's gonna kill the thing that just saved her. It's just like really snarky little things like that, which are taken out of context because it's a trailer.
right.
But kind of like what you were saying, just to dwell on that a little bit, whether it has laser weapons or not, I prefer to think that it doesn't, only because the mask was so different. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't a biomask, which
Right.
I don't think they've done that before, because like the jaw, you could, it was really weird how it had the mask on, but it was more like it was still concealed, but it could be expressive at the same time, and none of the other ones did that. So is it breathing through the mouth apparatus? I don't know. It looked like a bone helmet to me.
Yeah. No, that's how I would viewed it too, that he was just breathing air, our air.
Hmm.
And I actually loved that look of this face mask or whatever, specifically with how the mandibles were right next to like the thicker or thinner bone that came down. And then like you could see the mandibles like moving around beneath the mask a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty awesome. And then like, I don't know, it's just that interesting thing. Like, I guess like one thing that I really appreciate it is it doesn't disregard shit from other Predator movies, because even the Predator, they were talking about how like the Predator species, there's a name, I don't know how to pronounce it, but that they like were
Starts with a Y.
Yeah,
Like you
I still don't.
Jitta or something.
Yeah, and they had said like,
Yaoja, I
well, it's
think might be.
okay. They were talking about how I don't know, emphasize that the Predators were taking technology from other civilizations and making them into their own. Like, well, one of them was like the gene splicing shit, which was kind of weird. But maybe like the whole face mask thing is just not in the Predator's evolution yet, because this is what, 300 years ago, So yeah, I like all these little touches where it's like, it just made it feel like the Predator civilization, it's, although still advanced, isn't advanced as the Predators we've seen in the future, from this point,
Yeah, right.
So
well, and one of the things that I always liked about the Predator as a monster is that it has a thought process that you can follow along. So even though it's this kind of snarling creature, the alien wants to kill people.
Yeah.
And reproduce, and that's it. It makes little baby aliens and rips people's faces off. And
I kind of want to
that's basically all it wants.
That's it, is, simpling, like the simplest terms.
I was trying to draw the parallel to Jaws there, right? Where it's like it eats and makes baby sharks.
Right.
It is a way oversimplification.
Yes.
But without getting drawn into that debate for the millionth time, because we've had that debate a lot, you and I have.
We have had that debate.
Whether it's the code of honor that you could see in the original movie, like, okay, it's a monster that has rules. In this movie, I don't know if the honor code is really on display as much as it's working its way up the food chain. Because like it's like allowing a snake to crawl across it. Because as you said, this is the first time the Predator comes to Earth, and it's trying to just get the lay of the land itself.
Yep.
Kills it, moves on. There was like a big cat that it killed too, wasn't there?
I don't. Well, it was scared away. That's the same cat that the Comanche tribe killed. Her brother killed that cat, not the Predator. The Predator killed that bear. I mean, but there
handily.
But there was also the coyote that was chasing the rabbit that the Predator killed.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
well, I don't remember I don't believe there was a panther death by Predator.
No, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's not important, but that's just like what I was saying about it was like making its way up the chain.
I thought that was an awesome touch.
You're not a big enough threat. Are you?
Not quite yet. Yeah. Right.
Just kept moving along, and that's what I enjoy about the Predator overall, is that it's got a thought process that you can see, even though it doesn't really communicate like the way that you and I do.
Right. And I like that that whole portrayal of it figuring out that food chain was awesome. And then like the Predator realizing like, oh, these guys have tools. They have weapons, because there was like moments where it's like the triangle targeting system was recognizing, oh, that's a weapon, like this is a weapon. And then use that as a way to determine who's going to die, who's going to get it, who's not coming back. Oh man, so many awesome moments in this movie.
Speaking of communication,
yeah,
one thing that kind of blew my mind is like right in the beginning when Naru's doing sign language with the dog.
Yes.
And it's like, hold on a minute. Like, is that possible? Like, can we teach dogs sign language? So I
Yes, we can.
texted my friend who works at the local animal shelter, and to an extent,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
like the
animals.
hunting
Yeah.
dogs, the more disciplined breeds can understand limited levels of sign language. It's like, well, that's awesome.
Right. No, I mean, it's like the smartest dog's vocabulary is, that of a young child.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not in depth. Like I had a Springer Spaniel that came from a hunting family. That's what she was bred for. And her vocabulary was the most extensive I've ever seen for a dog. She knew the difference between like a chipmunk and a squirrel, for example. And that is really uncommon in most dogs. So yeah, the sign language thing is a real thing, but it is limited, like teaching a dog small differences between small animals. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not like, hey, what is a raccoon? What does a lion look like? What is this? They're not gonna know.
Yeah.
My Springer Spaniel knew the difference because she was up north all the time, and there's tons of squirrels and chipmunks. But if you told her to go after one of them, she would go after the one you said. So
Mm-hmm.
that's. But once again, I'll just say it again. That's pretty advanced. Most dogs can't do that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Well, and like my friend said there that the more disciplined breeds have that ability, and that's
yes,
like, no, that's pretty awesome. I'm not. I don't have anything against dogs. I just don't know a ton about them, and it's always fascinating when you pick up those little things here and there.
dogs in general. That's why I love them. I've always been a dog person. Well, specific types of dogs, more intelligent dogs. Smaller dogs seem less intelligent. I'm just not down with them. You know. Here we go.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
Let's
sorry.
not
I'm sorry.
pick any fights with people's specific love of dogs, other than the fact that we both loved this dog here.
Yes, this dog's great. Um, I like his little like temper tantrum after getting his tail snared into the trap.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, she I'm blanking on her name all of a sudden, even though I wrote it Naru.
Mm-hmm.
Um and he like pounces on the trap after he gets freed. Like this son of a bitch in trap.
Yeah.
Snared my tail. This bastard of a trap, you know?
Mm-hmm.
One thing that occurred to me while I was watching this, awesome dog aside, imagine trying to explain what science is while not knowing what science is. Like Naru's trying to describe what she saw, but imagine trying to get to that vocabulary. I was just like doing mental gymnastics in my head, like how would I describe weapons, not knowing what these kinds of weapons are? Like how would you even describe that? Or how would you describe anything of like what the Predator had? And it like this point had like an exclamation to it when those French trappers see those like discs flying up from the Predator gauntlet, and they're just like, what's this?
Mm-hmm.
What are these things? And then I'm imagining that they were just giant laser beams that cut down the whole forest because all those trees were flying. So they were disemboweled, I imagine, instantaneously, But
Yeah.
they're like, maybe we don't want to get an NC-17 rating, so maybe we'll just not show these people's entrails everywhere. So, oh man,
Yeah, I don't know if that matters on streaming.
no, but no, like, could you do that? Like, how would you describe the advanced technology of the
Well,
Predator to a
there's a couple of
primitive race?
times. There's a couple of times that I think it really illustrates her character's arc and struggle in she
Mm-hmm.
wants to hunt, but they're dismissive of that because she's a female, and then because they're dismissive of her status in the tribe, now she's trying to explain these things, and it's like, yeah, you don't know, you're just
Right.
and it makes perfect sense why she would have to set out alone to confront this thing, because no one.
No, these are childhood stories. That's what one said, and it's like, yeah, how would you even convince people of that? I mean, it's hard enough convincing people of the truth nowadays. Imagine when you don't even know what that thing is, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. I just was like, I was up against a brick wall. Like, if we saw something that was so advanced that it's like we don't even have words to describe it, how would we even convince? How would being able to convince somebody that this thing exists even be possible? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So there was this interesting thing. I don't know if this was a recent study, but they were talking about how, like, the invention of color. We just take it for granted, right?
Mm-hmm.
That these colors are this because we say they are. We don't really question colors. The interesting thing happened is that people only recognize colors when there was a name associated to it, right? So it was like, this color is red. It was almost like people were disregarding it. And this was through like time that the study was able to figure it out. And I guess it would be the same. Like, if we didn't know what it was, we didn't have any vocabulary for it, would we even recognize it? Or would our brain do a double take and just be like, whatever, I think I just saw something, you know?
Yeah, no, you would just take it for granted, like breathing oxygen.
Right.
Because again, you're trying to explain science that you don't know exists.
Right.
The miracle of breathing.
Right. Yeah, I was talking to this very moment with Andrew Heath, about this very thing with Andrew Heath, and I was like, "Hey, it'd be like, Andrew, explain how nuclear fission works to me, please." You know, like, what? It makes
and
energy.
Even if he could, you wouldn't understand it.
Right?
It's so complex,
so foreign.
Yeah,
right?
You lack the vocabulary for it.
Right. It's an interesting thing, and that's one of the reasons why I like this movie. It's like two different things that are almost undescribable to the other, you know. And it's like, how do you even? It's like, yeah, I'm going against this bear that stands upright, like, you know. Okay, yeah, fairy tale. So, what were some of your favorite moments of this movie? Because you are the Predator fan. Now that I've gotten my excitement about talking about this movie out of the way, I mean, I'm still excited. I'm ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even though we're about 20 minutes into this thing. But as a Predator fan, what were your favorite moments? Because we are the opposite. I'm an Alien guy through and through. My thing was like, I hope this movie's good, because then I'll be a little bit set at ease with what they're planning with the Alien universe. But with you being a Predator fan, what are your thoughts?
I thought the use of invisibility was some of the best in the series, which they still find ways to do.
Yeah.
Creatively. Yeah.
No, but did you like this movie? Does this hold up as a proper Predator franchise entry?
I think it's actually a really strong series, and people have said about it's like, oh, it's a wildly inconsistent series. Like, actually, it's not. Like, you've got the first one that's great, Predator 2 and Predators, they're fine, but they're not bad. I think The Predator is a little subjective, depending on whether you like the science fiction aspect that they leaned into versus the more slasher movie aspect that the other ones had. And this one goes back to basics, and I don't know how they could go back to basics in a better way than they did here.
Right.
We've seen the commando team, but they can't keep doing that either, where like you don't know what it is, you don't, and I did like how it connected to the other Predator movies in a couple different ways. I mean, it connects to the first one because you got some of the callbacks. It connects to Predator 2 because that's where the pistol came from that they give Danny Glover. Which
I have a comment on that.
Yeah, well, I got one too.
But I predicted that. I was like, I think it's going to tie into the very end of Predator 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened. So look at the brains on myself. Deductive logic at its finest.
Here's my question though, right?
Yeah.
How did the Predators get that gun back?
That's for Prey 2.
Does it? But that kind of assumes that something bad happens to her, like they come back for her.
I have a prediction again. You want to know what that is? I have an idea. I don't think we're going to see a Prey 2 that takes place right after this movie. I think we're going to see another encounter with a different Comanche tribe that has lineage to this tribe, right? And that gun has been passed down through that family, and somehow it gets into the Predator's hands later. The reason why I say this is that who the hell is narrating this story at the beginning of this movie that's talking about it in the past as if it didn't happen yet? There's this narrator that says like 2 or 3 sentences, and if you're not really paying attention, I only really noticed that it was a person speaking in past tense until I watched it a second time. I think that that has something to do with, if they would do a sequel, it has to do with that narrator.
I kind of hope none of that happens, because I don't want to see anything bad happen to Naru, because you like her.
I don't think we'll see it.
But I also don't want to see another Comanche tribe in a similar situation, because then I feel like it's Predators all over again, where
well, I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's another Comanche tribe that goes against them. I'm just saying that this gun could be passed down within a lineage from this Comanche tribe, So, I mean, like, there's still Comanche tribes, but are they battling each other?
Yeah.
Like in the plains of this movie,
Yeah, maybe not. I just
that's where I was going.
I just don't want to see that set up, because I feel like it would, while it would be a decent movie, it would feel iterative, like it wouldn't feel as creative as this one did.
But
to your point about the story, though, that Native Americans passed their stories down through like oral tradition, and there wasn't exactly a post-credit scene in here, but there was something I noticed in the credits that didn't quite line up with the story, because they were showing like drawings of, like, animated drawings of the movie and kind of the events that was happened. So it's like, okay, here's part of the history and passing the story down. I don't know if they were just painting in broad strokes, or if maybe it was a deleted scene and they didn't do it. But there's like one bit where it's like the Predatorship appears over the camp.
Okay.
Now you could take that a couple ways. You could take that to be like, well, it's kind of a metaphor for the movie itself, because the Predator came from the sky above here, but then when you have questions about what happened here, did they come back because their guy didn't come back, and now they're curious and they want to investigate further? I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting dangling plot thread. I don't necessarily have like an aha, that proves it connection. It was just something I noticed when I was watching it.
Interesting. I'll have to take a look at that, because I didn't really notice that. I wasn't really paying attention when the credits started rolling. It's just something I don't do. You probably hate that, but I just am like, oh, the movie's done, and even though there's 9 minutes left, I'm fast forwarding through the credits to see if there's a post-credit scene, but that, I mean, something like that would explain how the gun gets to Danny Glover, at the end of Predator 2.
Well, possibly, which raises even further questions, because you're talking about, is this gun passed down through lineage, well, I mean, is this predator part of that tribe?
It could be,
because that's another way with passing it through lineage. It looked more like I think they call him the Mr. Black, the Berserker Predator from Predators, than the traditional guy that we've seen. Just the way that his eyes were, and
I wanted to ask about
skin
that.
tone.
I kind of feel like it's that there's, and I think it's fair enough to make this statement that there's multiple predator races, and maybe they're intertwined like our society is, where we have, well, there's still parts of our country and parts of the world that don't want want things to continue to be segregated.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my viewpoint.
Well, and they hint at that.
Like.
Yeah, and they hint at that in Predators, in The Predator.
Yeah,
where these ones don't like those ones, and so just like people, they can be jerks too.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, maybe it's not even that the Comanche tribe has to fight a predator tribe. Maybe it's not even that maybe there is this mutual respect, whereas this, because like maybe like what happened in Predator 2, where they're not necessarily friendly, but they come to a resolution where that's like, now's not the time to continue to kill each other. Like, because that's what happened with Danny Glover. I mean, he could have been destroyed by the half dozen other predators that just uncloak all around him
by the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, but that didn't happen. So maybe that would happen. That could happen in this one. Who knows? But there is some unresolved story developments that I think needs to be answered, or I wish that they were, if they're not going to do a sequel. So what do you think of I want to go down this little negative road for a minute. Not that I have anything negative to say, but some of the internet, some of the corners, the ugly corners of the internet do, which is incredible. I don't really have much criticisms to say about this movie, and if there are criticisms, they're so light that it's like, who gives a shit? Like, one of the criticisms,
picking nits,
is like, do we really need to say if it bleeds we can kill it in just about every Predator movie? So but that's such a throwaway thing that it doesn't affect the experience of the movie. People are claiming that Naru is a Mary Sue. For our audience that doesn't know what a Mary Sue is, it's a term used to describe a fictional character, usually female, who seems too perfect and almost boring for lack of flaws. There is a small but vocal group of people that think that this character is a Mary Sue, which I find preposterous, but I wanted to go over this crap anyways, because wow.
I
easily disprove it. That's all I can say to that. If you've seen the movie, I don't think that this character comes any close to that. I think her struggles throughout this whole movie are represented really well. Other people's complaints are that she runs away all the time. Now, she does run away, but she learns from her mistakes and comes back again.
Right.
I think that's the more important lesson and thing to realize about what's happening, rather than, well, she's a coward.
Well, and what are you going to do? Just go toe to toe with the Predator instantly when you just met him? I mean, that's ridiculous. You fall back to a position of strength, you regroup, and that's just those are pretty shallow. I don't agree with any of that, and I prefer not to give that much more oxygen, because it's just like, whatever. Like,
it is dumb. It is very dumb, and it's just like, because I read some reviews that were stating this, And it's like, I'm trying to think like, well, where could they have get that? Like, where would they have gotten that? And I'm just like, there's not much. I mean, or the criticism is that this is part of the woke agenda, having a strong female character be in a lead like this to take on the Predator. I don't know, man. We've already seen Ellen Ripley kicking ass all over the place, all over space.
I'm so sick. I'm so sick of people describing anything they don't like as woke. You know,
you and me both, man.
Like I just saw something where someone was trying to claim that Netflix does that a lot, right? Because this isn't going to be a big tangent, right? That it was with the Sandman series that just came out because they
okay,
you know, apparently some characters changed gender or race or whatever it was, and they're saying that like oh that's the woke bots that are like hold on, like, you know, I have never seen bots review bomb a movie. All I've seen are angry people review bomb a movie.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's just become it's almost lost all meaning that it's just a catch-all term for
something I don't like.
That makes them uncomfortable for some reason.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's not a society problem. That's a them problem.
Yes. So what I want to say is I put this character up with the Sarah Connors, the Nancys from Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, Ripley.
And
you know,
she
I put her on that level, and she earns it through what she goes through.
Yeah.
You know?
No, yeah, and I was gonna say she very much has that same kind of struggle in the sense of, you know, you can't explain what's happening when you're the only person that's seen it and there's no precedent for it. And she finds a way to persevere and overcome.
Yeah, through amazing tactics. I might add that were exciting. I saw one review that said this is the most boring movie ever, and there's no action in it. And I was like, clearly we didn't see the same movie, because there is action in it. There's plenty of action in it. I loved that fight scene with the French trappers, and he just goes to town. You just think like, oh, they got the Predator now, and then he stabs one guy and lifts him up to stab the other guy who's laying on the ground. He speared both of them like through the chest with one of like his gauntlet spikes or whatever. That was awesome. You know, like the new net. Well, I guess it's not new. It was in Predator 2, but this one seemed much more painful, you know, and deadly, you know, because it's like the one in Predator 2, like put the guy against the wall and like the strings were tightening and it was cutting him. But this one just chopped him up like in a bunch of little pieces.
Yeah.
You know?
So, yeah, I don't really understand cool. The Predator 2 net there, other than it's just like a sadistic thing.
Right. Like,
you know, since you bring that up, because he didn't decloak when he stabbed that guy and raised him.
You talking about her brother? Or
yeah, when they're fighting the trappers there.
Oh. Okay.
I'm a little fuzzy on, you know, because we mentioned the code of honor, like how that figures into that, because like in Predator 2, he has that whole scene where he murders the drug gang, but he doesn't decloak there. So,
right. Well, on the trappers, he had to decloak because of all the ash in the air. Like people, like you could see like he was still kind of cloaked, but where the ash was hitting, it was like disrupting the cloaking mechanism itself. So he just turned it off, you know?
Yeah, but that's the kind of stuff that
yeah,
but that's the kind of stuff that I was talking about, where I thought it was some of the best invisibility effects in the series, and they still find ways to be, you know, creative with it.
Oh yeah. Well, like the blood from the bear pouring down on him, and then you can see like what his face looks like a little bit. That was awesome.
Yeah.
the little like when he had, I thought, man, when he had like an injury with the cloaking mechanism, like the coyote bit him in the leg. You know, he had some damage from the bear attack, and kind of seeing that fluorescent blood above the cloaking mechanism, that looked awesome. You know,
Yeah.
that looked really cool. Same with like the predator blood coming down from like with the water that was coming out of the bear's mouth when it roared, like it thought it was, I got this fucker, you know.
Oh
And then,
yeah,
like the
yeah.
predator gets up, but when the bear gets on its back legs, you can see all this water and like predator blood coming out of his mouth. Like that was awesome, you know.
Yeah, that's a
Or
real good
just,
use of CG there.
yeah, yeah. Or when the predator gets stabbed, when there's that first confrontation with the people who kidnapped her to bring her back, like her tribe went out and searched for her, was bring her back, and that he's cloaked, but he gets stabbed in the foot. You know, it's like this miniature blood geyser comes out. You know, so, and the scream.
I liked how they were able to realize the the running around through the trees.
Yeah.
And you know, it was nice to see that in the woods where it was burned down because you had like a real good view of it. And
Yes.
it's just like flying up there and jumping around.
Yeah. No, that whole sequence was awesome. And then you had like the sequence after where it's like she is now becoming the predator against the remaining fur trappers, you know, where it's like she goes in there, no one sees her until it's too late, and she's just throwing that axe and getting all stabby with all them fuckers, you know. That was amazing. That was so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, speaking of tactics too, I like how, because you mentioned when the tribe's coming around, like the hunting party, the Comanche hunting party, I like how they're checking their corners, which is something you see with like a lot of, you know, SWAT teams and action movies. And it just makes sense where it's like, you know, that probably isn't a modern invention. I mean, it's just kind of
Right.
an attention to detail of, you know, this came from somewhere. It's not as primitive as you think. It's just the tools have changed.
Yeah.
Just, I
I
mean,
didn't
just
really
like
think about that, but yeah, you're right.
when it's like the same thing with the war paint too, also kind of connects it to the original movie because that's kind of a nice iteration on each of those characters had a very distinctive camo pattern, but that was done for kind of creative reasons, just so that you'd be able to tell them apart, so it wasn't just guys blending into the jungle.
Right. Right. Oh man, I'm just thinking about this movie. I just it blows my mind that it was that good or this good. Uh and I was playing some video games with some people, and one of them hadn't seen it yet. So Andrew and I didn't really want to talk too much about Prey, but I told him, I was like, "Hey man," he goes, "Well, is it good?" I told him, I'm like, "This is what I'll say about this movie without spoiling anything of it, is that it's a movie that I wish I could see again for the first time." And I thought, like, when's the last time like we've been able to say that about a movie? I think the last one for me was Ghostbusters Afterlife. But before that, not much. You know, like, I mean, I'd love to see Alien and Aliens for the first time again, you know, obviously. But what other movies could you say that to? Like, do you have any examples of like in recent years of that happening? Or
Off
that
the
feeling?
top of
Maybe
my
you don't
head,
even have that feeling. I don't know. I'm assuming you do, but maybe it's just
yeah,
me.
I'd have to think about it. I on the spot though, I don't have anything that's off the top of my head. I mean, there's movies that
Not Prey?
there's movies that, you know, I definitely can't wait to own, or you know, have them come out. Trying to think of a movie that I might have started again as soon as it finished.
No,
I
no,
feel like
no.
that's
I'm
come up
seeing
on the pod. No, I know what you're saying, but I'm trying to work through that, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just
you wouldn't want to see the first Predator again,
watch
not
too many
knowing what
movies.
that movie is about. That's what I'm talking about. Like, when's the last time you would be able to see
Oh,
that?
all kinds of movies I wish I hadn't ruined for myself by watching them too many times.
No, but that's not what I'm asking, though.
I know. There's all kinds of movies that I've ruined for myself because of not being able to experience them again the second time the same way. Like a Ghostbusters or like Predator or a RoboCop or a Star Wars, where you've just never seen anything like it, and or a Nightmare on Elm Street, and being able to go back and have that experience all over again. That would be great. But the closest I can equate to that is just, watching certain movies too many times and kind of wishing I hadn't ruined it for myself.
Well, I mean, I guess like the experience of watching something like amazing is such a rare instance. I think we don't realize how rare that is, where we watch something extremely special. And like this movie did it for me. Like I think that this moving forward is going to be remembered like the first Predator movie, and so when I say like I want to see it again for the first time, I'm not saying a repeat viewing. I'm saying I wish I had that experience of how something
you
so
could go in
wonderful
fresh.
could happen.
You could do the Men in Black mind wipe.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Not ruining a movie because you love it so much you've seen it to death. I hope people realize that that this isn't just another sequel. I mean, it is that, but it is also greater than that. I think we've had so many movies that have tried to move a story forward that suck or don't meet expectations. So it becomes rarer and rarer that a movie will exceed expectations. I was excited from the get-go that this was coming out. Another fucking Predator movie. Yes, yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have some more, because it's another shot to do something wonderful, another chance to do it again. And this one did that. So it's nice to have that, not even as a Predator fan. I mean, I love these movies, but once again, I'll just reiterate, it's not the number one thing for me.
Right.
So what I said to you before is I'm excited for this movie to do well, because to me it would signify that 20th Century Studios is going to take other properties seriously. And so my excitement for Alien is that much higher. So maybe it's a bad thing. Maybe now I'm going to expect too much of Alien and just be unsatisfied, and then get on Rotten Tomatoes and write a 1-star review, of the next Alien thing, but
I don't see that happening.
I don't see that either, but there's always that possibility. It could always happen. But I'm so happy that it's this good. I know I've been rambling, but I feel like this is a really important movie.
I've seen a lot of talk about it getting dumped to Hulu, and I think those are the people that were kind of like, just they were already going to be against it regardless, because of
right. We'll find anything we can throw at it to be negative towards it.
Yeah, right. And that proves whatever their preconceived notion is. I don't feel like it was dumped. It was I don't know what the business decision there was, other than R-rated movies weren't on Disney Plus yet, and nobody, being it was produced right at that point in time when nobody knew what the theatrical situation was going to be. It wasn't dumped. It was, nobody knows what movies are going to be like tomorrow, what the movie business is.
Right.
That's such a different thing from dumping a movie because we just want to be rid of it, cut our losses, and run. I don't think it was that at all. I think it was a decision to find the largest audience possible when nobody knew what the coronavirus situation was going to be.
Right.
Big difference.
Right. My hope is, it is a huge difference. Also, no one else has this type of movie on their services that has released this week. So that's a huge subscriber increase for Hulu. You know, like that's what they wanted by putting this on Hulu. They're like, well, we're going to get a massive amount of subscribers just to watch this movie. You know, that's the business plan. That's the business model. Sometimes releasing it right to theaters isn't always the best option anymore. Maybe you put it in front of the people that are dying to see it and have easy access to see it, you know? It's, yeah, going back to that comment, it got dumped to Hulu. I don't think it was the plan to ever release it in theaters. I'll say this, though. If they do decide to do a theatrical release, I'd go to see it again for a third time just to get the movie theater experience for this movie, you know? I've already spent how many hours on this movie? 4 in the last 24 hours. Yeah, I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Is it was it longer than 90 minutes?
Oh, I thought it was close to 2 hours, but maybe it's not.
I wasn't paying attention. It's not because I wasn't sitting there checking my watch or like pausing it to like, how much time we got left.
Right. No, neither was I either time. You know, I saw it Thursday night. I'm kind of lying about how much time I spent on it. I saw it. No, when did I see it? Sunday night? Yeah, after I got back from my trip to Chicago, I saw it Sunday night, and then I saw it this morning. You know, not to refresh my memory. I just was like, what's the best thing out right now? Prey. I guess I'll watch that again. You know, so, oh man, I do have some reviews.
I'm not going to rush out to watch it again. Not that not that I didn't enjoy it, but as I said before, I tend to wind up ruining movies for myself because I'll just kind of watch them repeatedly, and I need to not do that. I need to save these things so that they can remain special, especially because there's 5 Predator movies now.
Yeah.
And you don't know how long it's going to be until there's another one. So I've already ruined the other ones. I'll just keep this in reserve and, bust it out on special occasions when I really need that fix. Because the other ones aren't going to do it for me anymore.
Oh, that's a bummer. But I don't know. I feel like this could be Batman Begins all over again. Right, just watch Batman Begins like an excessive amount of times in a short period, and don't get sick of it.
Just on in the background constantly.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many awesome things. One thing I wanted to bring up, like, obviously the title of the movie, it's not Predator, but throughout the movie you see the character like hunting the predator, like figuring it out, how big it is, knows what its blood is now, is looking for that. She knows how it travels. So it begs the question, which one is the prey? Is it still her? Because that's the assumption. But it seems like she's also hunting the predator, Yeah. So which one is the prey in the situation?
It works both ways, and I'm glad that they tried to be a little bit more creative than Predators, the Predator.
Right.
Like, we're not calling it Predator 5, and you don't have to. As long as the title is meaningful, you have that font that's so iconic where you just know that it's a Predator movie.
Yeah.
As soon as you see it. I thought that was actually a really great use of that. Although the actual reveal in the movie, I thought, looked not quite up to scratch with some of the other stuff. And maybe it was my TV. Just it felt, I mean, it is CG, obviously, but the whole movie looks so gorgeous that when that popped in, it's like, oh, that's kind of hokey looking.
Are you talking about
when Prey comes on screen and after it pans up right in the beginning of the movie.
The
literal title.
Prey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. I actually thought that was such a cool. It's camera movement, because it's not an effect really, but like it going up and then Prey coming up with it. It did look like shiny, so maybe a little too CG. I don't know. I didn't really have a problem with it. I thought it was like, it got me excited for it, you know. Yeah, just seeing that iconic font with all the slashes through it, you know. And I liked that they did change the font a little bit more primitive. Like in the original Predator font, it's very angular with the slashing, but this looked like they were actually marked in there, like a claw did it, you know, instead of just a design choice to make it look like weeds or something. It was like, no, these things are clawed in. You know, some gauntlet stabbing from the Predator made these slashes, you know.
Yeah.
So
I want, what was the original thinking on that? Any idea? Other than it just
I
cool?
don't know. I just assumed that it was a nod to the jungle, because when I see the original Predator font, I think of palm tree leaves or fern leaves instead of cuts, you know. This one I felt like they were cuts. It's kind of a weird distinction between them. But it feels that way to me. Like it feels like the logo had a fight with the Predator before we saw it, you know, instead of just a design choice.
Yeah,
you know?
It also looked kind of stone, like like the primitive weapons.
Yeah. It's Impact, by the way, for all you listeners out there. It's Impact font. That's what that is. But you won't get the Predator slashes.
No, you won't. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll just get the meme generator look.
Yeah, the meme generator font. Yeah, that's also the thing you don't realize. Most memes are made with the Predator font. Just a little, now you know. Get that like shooting star across the screen right there.
So obviously we liked it.
Yes, man.
In case
Loved
it.
In
case you can't tell.
Love it. It's great. I mean, there's nothing to complain about other than I do have a segment that's called the reviews and the idiots out there. We could go over some of them. These are not from critics. These are from users of Rotten Tomatoes. Don't claim that I doxed any of them either. It's public information. So, but I do have their names and their last initial, you know. So if you're listening, if you're any one of these people, I have a bone to pick with you, you know. More politically correct shit is one of their that was written by Raoul H, who also loves Zack Snyder's Justice League. Gave that 5 stars. I don't get that, man. Like, I want to reiterate this. Like, we have had so many female leads in other fantastic science fiction and horror movies that to have another female lead doesn't say anything but to your bigotry or what is the other word?
Intolerance.
Intolerance, no, but intolerance towards a gender. What is that? I'm drawing a blank on the word.
Misogyny.
Yeah, I guess. Male. Yeah, I guess it's misogyny. It's just it's so weird that when we have had so many characters where now you have dumbasses saying, oh, this is the feminist agenda, this is the liberal agenda, when many horror movies, if that's like your criteria, then many horror movies and many science fiction movies have had a feminist agenda for 40 years. I just think it's bullshit. I want to call people out on that garbage.
And what proves that it's nonsense is do you think Disney really cares about the liberal? They want your money.
Yes.
Period. You know, like
Yes.
what were some of the Disney movies of the 90s, right? It was Angels in the Outfield, right? There you go.
Yeah.
What was the agenda there? Like Christian values, and did people complain
Sure.
about getting that shoved down their throat? Probably, but that's where the money was at. So again, these companies don't care. It's just this is where the public consciousness is at right now.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. I don't know.
I mean, I think some of these people, it shows to us what they're really thinking and where their mindset is, because these things have already been happening since Alien, which was 79. That's more than 40 years ago, and now you're going to say, oh, this is the woke agenda. I don't know. Cut your bullshit and shut the fuck up is what I have to say about people like this. I just get fed up with it. It's not a woke agenda. It's just how things have been and will continue to be and evolve,
Mm-hmm.
So fuck those people. Prey is great. I keep wanting to say Predator, but Prey, because we've had how many years of calling it Predator, and now we got to switch the name to Prey.
Predator 5.
Yeah. I think it's great. Fuck the naysayers. And I will say this. Although I'm shitting on naysayers right now, it's like 1 to 100. It's like one dumbass review to like 100 glowing reviews saying like, oh my God, I've been looking forward to something like this for a Predator movie for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I want to see.
That's most of what I've seen. I mean, like I say, there were a couple strange comments in like the bear thing, and like she's so strong when blah blah blah. And it's just like, well, again, it's a trailer. It's kind of taking her out, but everybody wants to have that gotcha moment to make themselves
feel good, feel smart.
Just don't read the comments. I think that's the lesson here. Just don't read the comments. Just watch the movie. Did you like it? Yeah. That's all that matters.
If you didn't, well, that's okay too.
And the overwhelming majority of people really enjoyed this movie, and I like that people are talking about the Predator in a really positive way again.
Yes. I agree. I look forward to reading other dumb reviews later, but to your point, this is a gem of a movie that we might not see for a long time again, I can't believe something like this good has come out when we've already seen it. I guess that's the other thing I need to like emphasize is like we have seen Predator movies for so long. To have something this unique is an incredible feat. So I guess that's where I can leave this movie at. It's that's why I am praising it so much. It's super rare that can happen with so many stories already told within this universe.
Yeah, it is. I just say check it out. It's
check it out. Well, we've already spoiled it, so you don't need to anymore.
They came for the commentary. So hey, how about this? If you've already seen it, recommend it.
Yes.
If you liked it, recommend it.
I would agree with that too, because if you recommend it and more people keep seeing it and talking about it, guess what we're going to get?
More Predator.
We're going to get more Predator movies. We're going to get more Alien movies. And maybe we'll get a new Terminator movie that just punches us right in the teeth and we're just enthusiastic to see it again. Now that Disney has all of these properties because of their acquisition, I'm looking forward to it. And maybe sometime we'll see like a Predator versus Alien versus Terminator movie. You never know. Could be out there just waiting,
All right. I think we've said it.